You've learned first conjugation verbs that have the stem vowel A, and that A is not strong enough to withstand the O of the first person singular, as you've learned, so it drops out there. But the A is then consistently the stem for the other forms. You've learned the second conjugation, which has a strong E as the thematic vowel, and that E can withstand the O. So the second conjugation is a little easier because the stem is consistent throughout all the forms. The third conjugation has as its thematic vowel a weak E. And you've learned by now that that's probably going to create, and in fact it is going to create, some phonetic changes. And that's what makes the third conjugation a little more challenging. Because you're going to learn the present system of the third conjugation, as you have for first and second already, let's review what present system means, and then you'll be ready to learn the third conjugation. Remember that Latin has 6 tenses, and they're divided into 2 systems, the present system and the perfect system. The present, imperfect, and future are all categorized as part of the present system. And that's because those tenses describe actions that are incomplete. So they are either ongoing, or they were ongoing, or they haven't yet happened. And all those tenses are formed on the present stem, and they're under the present system. The perfect system is the easier of the 2 systems to learn by a lot, even though we're not learning that yet. And the perfect system has the perfect, the pluperfect, and the future perfect. All those tenses describe actions that have been completed. They're done. That's what perfect means. So they have been completed, or they had already been completed, or they will have been completed. Don't let those tenses intimidate you right now. They're actually not bad at all, and I'll explain them when we get there. So the personal endings are the same. You've already memorized those. And you're going to find the stem the same way. So you take the RE off the infinitive to find the stem. Now remember that the E of this stem is weak, so you should be able to predict that it's going to drop out of the first person singular. In Latin, a weak E is pronounced E. Remember that a strong E in Latin is pronounced A, like dokeo. And if you pronounce a strong E, and then you loosen or relax the muscles in your mouth while you're saying it, it will become E. A becomes E. It weakens to a new sound, and the new sound is a weak E, E. And if you loosen or relax your muscles even more while you're saying that, then that sound will become further weakened, and it will sound like I, I. So from A to E to I. Say those vowel sounds out loud, and you'll notice how the muscles in your mouth are slackening more with each one. And that's why the rest of the conjugation looks like this. Duco, dukis, dukit, dukimis, dukitis, dukunt. Those vowels should look familiar to you from the future of the first and second conjugation, where you have bo, bis, bit, bimis, bitis, bunt. So this is the same pattern of vowels before the personal endings. That weak E does hold up against the endings for the imperfect, which is very regular and predictable. The future tense of the third conjugation, however, is formed differently from the future tense for the first and second conjugations. There is no bo, bis, bit, bimis, bitis, bunt for the future of the third conjugation. Instead, the sign of the future tense for the third conjugation is the letter E. Except in the first person singular, it's an A. Sorry about that. Students really don't like the future tense of the third conjugation, and that's why. Think about how important it is that you know your vocabulary and you know the dictionary form of verbs. Because if you're translating Latin and you come across a verb that ends et, you won't be able to tell what tense it is unless you know the dictionary form. If that verb is from a second conjugation verb, then it's present tense. But if that verb is from a third conjugation verb, then it's future tense. So it's really important to know your dictionary forms and to learn your vocabulary. The third conjugation, imperative, also has a different rule from what you're used to. So for a third conjugation imperative, the singular is the stem minus the RE. That's familiar to us. But then the plural imperative is ITE. So for the verb scribo, scribere, which means to write, the imperatives are scribe and scribite. The reason I had to choose a new verb for that example is that duco ducere happens to have an irregular imperative. There are 3 verbs, and they're all third conjugation, that have irregular imperatives in Latin. And they're duc, which means to lead, dic, which means to speak, and fac, which means to do. So all 3 of those have singular imperatives with no vowel at the end. Their plural imperatives are perfectly regular on ITE. Okay, that's all I have to say about the third conjugation. If you need to, watch the video again, but if it all makes sense, then you're ready to practice. I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in class.